Akamitsu was taught a valuable lesson when he was a kid. No one can live alone. As a member of the Akagami clan, he needs to find and make as many friends as possible. The idea of having so many friends gets him excited, but his father uses this idea to indoctrinate him, claiming his father is going to meet as many beautiful women as he can, with that being the last day that he saw him, abandoning him. Years later, Akamitsu studies to be a civil servant and refuses to be anything like his father, refusing dates and other worldly possessions. Not knowing what kid Akamitsu was thinking, calling his father cool, one day, a barrel crashes into him, sending him into the wall. From this, he meets a cute girl named Yuzuki and falls in love with her. The girl profusely apologizes to him and is prepared to call an ambulance. This sends him into a frenzy, as all of his repressed lecherous ideas emerges. The next day, he's checking out the university girls' track team, finding them attractive. He then goes to a mixer with his friends. This sends him to a downward spiral, as now he's missed too much work, getting him fired, with him also on the verge of failing all of his classes, deciding he is cursed with his father's perversion, dropping out of college and enrolling himself as a monk, joining a male-only Mikazuka temple. Alas, the first person that he meets there is Yuzuki. He overreacts, trying to close the door on her and leave. Yuzuki tries to get him to stay, getting her formal attire, but as she gets there she trips, making her look half-dressed. Akamitsu tries to escape, but it's too late already, with him being overpowered by the most powerful weapon in all of mankind. Staring at it too long causes him to desperately propose to her. Akamitsu tries to compose himself afterwards, but he falls down into a well. Yuzuki is actually already in a marriage proposal with another man, assuming that he's the same man, calling Kiki. Tsukuyo appears to greet her sister, saying hello. Akamitsu then reappears, concussed from his fall, making everyone assume that he's a lecherous ghost, as he staggers around terrifying the woman, causing the two of them to run. Mia goes to tell the girls to keep it down, but he crashes right into her. After he's captured, it transpires that the temple is now actually a nunnery for priestesses. Kiki agrees to let him stay, for some free labor, but the other girls want to attack him for being a boob man. Kiki then checks this, confirming her suspicions. Akamitsu leaves thinking that he's caused too much trouble for them. Yuzuki, feeling sorry for him, convinces him to stay overnight to get the morning bus, but he still refuses. Yuzuki understands and asks what he meant by his proposal, assuming that it must have been some type of weird joke, seeing that they've only met 2 times, but she realizes that he wasn't joking. Unfortunately, after they introduce themselves being with their family name, it transpires that his father has already borrowed 20 million yen from the temple. Akamitsu bows, agreeing to pay off for his father's debt, horrified to learn that he's now going to be living at this temple as a dog's body until he can pay off the debt. Repaying with his body, Yuzuki realizes what she said and clears up any misunderstandings. Yuzuki is convinced of his pure heart, but the others decide to expose him, to force Yuzuki to kick him out. Tsukuyo doesn't like how close the two of them are quickly getting, brainstorming on a way to separate them. Kiki suggests a seduction strategy, picking the girl with the most attractive figure, with everyone pointing at Tsukuyo, with her trying to point at Kiki, but alas, Kiki's a nun, so she can't partake in that, with everyone knowing that's bullshit. Seeing the despair of the temple due to the missing money, Akagami swears to fix everything. Just when he feels like himself again, Yuzuki appears. Tsukuyo is chosen to distract him with her body, distracting him with her melons, giving him a crazy amount of chores to do, hoping he's gonna mess up. Despite repressing his lechery, he completes all the chores perfectly, with Kiki also helping out during his fake waterfall meditation. Seeing that he's done this all perfectly, Kiki opts for the seduction route. Tsukuyo ambushes him in the bathroom. He runs back into the water, but she panics and accidentally falls. When he rushes to go save her, he ends up on top of her, actually kissing her. Witnessed by Yuzuki, she asks Akamitsu to leave. Everyone now celebrates him leaving, but Yuzuki starts to avoid Tsukuyo. She confronts her sister about this, though it turns out that she was just embarrassed from seeing Akamitsu's raw body, having lecherous ideas. The two of them start talking about their mother and about what she would have done. Tsukuyo realizes that she might have misjudged him. Akamitsu resigns himself, turning himself into the police station, but they turn him away, telling him not to come back. When he tries going back to his old room, the apartment owner throws him out, revealing that he's already sold his room off and threw his stuff away, so he's now homeless. Yuzuki tracks him down explaining that she only meant to order him to leave to the bathroom, not the temple. Yuzuki assumed that he still was a child, but Akamitsu clears up this misunderstanding, revealing that he's actually 21, and with her actually being younger, being 17. Tsukuyo apologizes to him, but adds that 5 million is going to be added to his debt for stealing her first kiss. Mia is furious. Kuragi gives him advice, telling him that lechery exists in every human, revealing that even Buddha had children, so possibly even Yuzuki is a little lecherous. For some fun, she tricks him into opening up the bathroom door as Tsukuyo is taking a shower, who soon beats him up. Unable to stand the depravity brought into their temple, Mia confronts him. Mia challenges Akagami to a duel, with castration as a penalty for losing. Yuzuki, Tsukuyo, and Kuragi have to leave, telling him to try to get along with the others. It transpires that Mia is actually a foreign student, and Kagura is her mischievous attendant. Mia is mad about what he did on the first episode to her, with him not remembering. Mia and Akagami engage in sword battle, because she saw this in the samurai movie, assuming that it must be Japan's national sport. Akagami is serious, but is determined not to hurt her, throwing his sword away. Earlier, Kagura wrapped up Mia's chest. During the duel, a piece of the tape is undone. Kagura pulls on it, causing Mia's melons to pop out, only to have it fall into Akagami's hands during the duel. Mia passes out from embarrassment, and now has to face the penalty, coming straight from Kagura's book of lewd penances. Kagura gives him various options, and Mia proudly accepts. Akagami interrupts them, wanting to get the book, but Mia becomes flustered, assuming that he's pointing to something else. Mia mistakenly thinks that he wants something, avidly refusing. That night, she enters into his room prepared to settle the bet. From her words alone, he assumes that he's in a dream, figuring that no one else is around, and just as he's about to accept her offer, he sees Kagura with a recorder, only to be humiliated with her learning the truth. Kagura traps them into a storeroom, where Mia blurts out a warning to stay away from her. This leads to a confession about her family, with them having their own curse of lechery, with her mother having many male lovers, with her family name being well known. The other kids at school avoid her, except for Kagura, who as a child was still very mischievous. So to repress her urges, she came to an all-female temple, since no one here would know of her family name, so she could start over, only for Akagami to show up as a temptation. Realizing they're alike, they agree to support each other in rejecting lust through penances with Kagura's book. The next morning, Yuzuki goes to check on them, but she sees that Kagura is recording them, with the two of them sounding rather loud, playing a game of Twister. Seeing them, Yuzuki loses her mind watching, becoming rather jealous. Yuzuki forgets about her rescheduled marriage proposal, on which the temple is relying on to stay open, so Akamitsu rushes to get her there, but they end up trapped in the back of a truck. Still determined to make it there, Yuzuki decides to use this time to change into her yukata. Yuzuki's parents don't live at the temple, meaning that there isn't a head priest. So when she graduates, she's supposed to move out, with Kiki only helping out temporarily. They finally make it to Ryokoku Temple and meet the potential fiancé, Kijo. Akamitsu is mistaken for a monk by a priestess and ends up working there. The pushy nun from earlier is terribly sick, so she's forcing him to be an attendant at the official matchmaking meeting. Kijo is a genuinely nice man, making Yuzuki feel guilty, so she confesses her true goals, with it being to trick Kijo into becoming her fiancé and head priest, then breaking off the engagement once she's qualified to replace him as the head priestess. With this being Kiki's lewd idea, Kijo is sympathetic, but concludes that Miyazuki's temple should be closed down. Akamitsu resorts to begging on Yukio's behalf. Yuzuki panics, as it sounds like the marriage proposal is being broken off. Akamitsu promises to support her, giving an encouraging speech. Kijo pushes him further to see what else he'll confess, with him able to get a vow out of him, with it sounding like a marriage proposal being between Yuzuki and Akamitsu. Kijo agrees to have a 3-year fake engagement. Kijo meets with the priestess, Aoba, being related to Yuzuki and her sister. Originally, she was going to have the proposal refused, forcing her to work at this temple, but she made a split decision, putting Akamitsu in the meeting, with her manipulating the meeting after realizing that Akamitsu is an Akagame. But they're having a grudge against his family. Due to the late hour, they missed the last train and were forced to stay at a love hotel, being the only thing available. Akamitsu struggles to repress his lechery, with Yuzuki showing him various cosplay outfits. Feeling that she's trying to seduce him, he goes to take a shower, especially after he correctly suspects that Yuzuki was watching an M-rated movie about zombies while he was showering. For her own safety, he decides to take drastic measures. Meanwhile, Yuzuki becomes so worked up in the shower, she convinces herself that she's ready to play adult Twister with Akamitsu. She comes out resolved to go through with this, only to be disappointed when she finds out that he's chained himself to the wall, so she leaves him there, mad at him for not going through with it.
Jilk uses a smokescreen and fires off a single round of an anti-magic armor bullet, but is shocked to see that it didn't work. Therefore, he detonates the bombs on Leon that had no effect on Leon's mech, warning him of the consequences against Julius, but Leon doesn't heed them and defeats Jilk. Although Marie is frustrated by losses of the prince's entourage, Julius assures Marie that he'll win regardless. Finally, Julius steps onto the area, and before they start Julius what he thinks of Olivia, to which he doesn't have an opinion about her. With that, Leon and the referee starts the duel. Immediately, the best possible armor on his mech, on Leon, which alludes to it sharing the same notion continues. Leon taunts Julius, understands him, and notes his disdain for being born about his past misfortunes that he's faced thus far. So happens, some boys in the crowd relate, and Julius down on his love and conviction for Marie tearfully listens. Olivia then chimes in favor of Angelica's love for the prince. Be in the presence of Angelica is that the duel will end until one of them dies, and Leon position accepts it and taunts him to order him to lose on. However, Julius refuses, and how he also enjoyed the act as well. In a blazing rage, Julius tries to attack Leon, but ends up grasp, and who then tries to have a man. Thus, Leon KOs him with an impact attack, and he officially wins. And Angelica, who leaves to see the prince, and warns him that the students there all him for his actions. Unfair opinions of him, Leon claims his school eventually. Elsewhere, Julius and the two have a heart-to-heart about their trip. In the end, it becomes clear that Julius is free, and no one else. Hearing that Angelica leaves the prince's side, while Leon meets with Angelica's father Vin and older brother Gilbert to have them mated to be cleaned up by them. This proposal, and Leon claims that it's his title as knight, and decline the offer of barony as well. When asked by Gilbert about his motives, Leon answers that he did it for the kingdom. Truth, he did it all for. The answer amuses Vince, who then requests that Angelica stay in the countryside for a while.
Karaki is excited about becoming a sophisticated adult. Writing in her diary, remembering how they first met, they're talking about Akagami, with him coming and catching her, realizing in that moment that he saw her as a grown woman. Once she enters high school, she knows she's going to reach new heights. She also enjoys all the changes around the temple since Akagami moved in. Yuzuki calls a secret girls only meeting, with only Suyo confused about why they're here. The girls reluctantly admit that they're gaining weight since Akagami has been cooking for them, so they decide to start exercising, with the group doing Pilates, but finding it rather difficult. When this fails to get results, they decide to go on a diet, though this would mean admitting to Akagami that they're going to need smaller portions, making the group feel embarrassed. It's here that Karagi admits that she sees Akagami as part of the family now. They're also being fine if any of them decide to marry him, because that would mean keeping him here, but this is because she doesn't want to give up all of her delicious meals, willing to sacrifice a sister to meet that end. Next, saying that Yuzuki is practically useless now, seeing that she's engaged, but sees Suyo as a decent bargaining chip. Suyo's embarrassed by the idea, but they're next using her own logic to reverse it back on Karagi. Karagi agrees though, and goes off to seduce Akagami. At that moment, Akagami appears with homemade Japanese sweets, corrupting them further, with his chef-level cooking. The girls decide just to stop checking out their weight. Karagi wonders if he'd wait for her, until she's old enough. Akagami believes that Yuzuki is angry at him and might execute him, because she carries an axe everywhere she goes. But it turns out to be her new intensive training to become a head priestess, which she's relieved but finds rather hot. Kiki then asks Akagami if he would like to train alongside her. To support her, Akagami agrees to undergo the same training, but this is immediately followed up by Mia, who volunteers herself. Kiki's not happy about this, seeing that she did this to keep the two of them together, with Yuzuki also feeling a little bit jealous, but this is because the two of them have a very close friendship. Kiki reveals that it usually takes a year just to become a priestess, yet Yuzuki is trying to become one in 6 months, with her having to meet a deadline. Talking to Kiki further, Akagami realizes that he hasn't been training at all to be a priest, but it's just some guy who lives at the shrine, with Kiki deciding to help him refuse his urges, while also messing with Yuzuki. Kijo makes an unexpected visit, with them having dire news, also revealing that Kijo and Kiki have bad blood between the two of them. He reveals that Yuzuki must successfully become a priestess within 3 months, or he will end their fake engagement. Kiki announces that today they're going to be beginning their training for Tokudo. They must be pure at all times, starting with wearing white underwear. Since Akagami, Yuzuki, and Miya do not own any white underwear, she demands that they go commando. The first exercise is for them to stay still and keep their thoughts clear and pure. If they fail, they get whacked. Akagami is fine at first, but once he starts hearing the other girls getting whacked by the stick, he can't concentrate. Their training becomes unbearably lewd, as none of them can focus. So at the end of the day, they all buy new white underwear. Kiki announces that they must share a bedroom. Kiki remembers Kijo warning her about a secret meeting of the sect leaders happening at the temple at the 3-month deadline. That night, no one got any sleep. After forcing them to share a sauna, Kiki claims that the training is to expose them to the opposite sex, so they can eventually become immune to lewd thoughts and closer to enlightenment. Akagami and Miya end up confessing all their lewd thoughts together, doing it as a training exercise, but not really meaning to do so. But Yuzuki continues to hide her lust for Akagami, with Yuzuki replaying what she saw at the Love Hotel and how she felt about it. Her jealousy of his friendship with Miya increases. Kiki gives them the day off, with it being Christmas Eve, though Akagami despises Christmas, as during the holidays his father's girlfriends would violently fight over him every Christmas. Yuzuki takes him gift shopping as a way to distract him, but quickly realizing that the shop assistants assume that they're on a Christmas date. The other girls discuss the irony of first wanting to get rid of Akagami, and now they want him to stay, with Karagi pointing out how much differently Mia's been acting and dressing since he showed up, with her even admitting that she wants him to look at her. However, Kagura is shown to secretly view Akagami as a nuisance, and she plans to deal with him. The girls decide to have a Christmas party, but the gift exchange turns lewd when the randomized gifts include a marriage license, nude photographs, and a toy. Kagura buys everyone hot spring tickets. Akagami and Yuzuki reveal that they coincidentally bought each other personal gifts, being prayer beads. Kiki interrupts their moment, having some bad news, revealing that the sect leaders are going to be inspecting the temple, and they may decline Yuzuki's promotion if the temple's in a poor state. Yuzuki starts to panic, since their temple idol is held together by duct tape. Trying not to think about it, everyone goes to visit the hot springs, unaware that it includes mixed bathing. Kagura also manipulates the staff, drugging Akagami. As the girls bathe, Akagami is revealed to be trapped nearby, having hidden in panic after discovering that the mixed bathing and that he was drugged. With his cucumber showing, Kagura exposes him as a peeping Tom, but is then frustrated when everyone vouches for him, mostly due to their fascination with his cucumber. Kagura confronts Akagami privately, revealing that he's interfering with her lifelong goal of turning Miya into an erotic queen for the Kristoff family. Akagami realizes that Kagura has been manipulating Miya for years, doing so as a role with the Baldwin family, with it being a servant to the Kristoff family. Kagura offers to pay him enough money to clear up his debt with the temple and to repair it, but only if he leaves and never returns. It's almost the new year, so the temple prepares mochi. Akagami and Miya struggle when Karagi points out the loose symbolism of pounding mochi. Akagami is shocked when Kagura has Miya perform with the bunny girl penance. Miya also faints from the lewdness, with Suyo somehow being dragged in. Yuzuki is ready to punish Akagami until she realizes that the bunny penance is not real. Kiki asks Akagami, once Yuzuki becomes the head priest, will he decide to become a priest himself or leave? Everyone visits the Shinto shrine for the new year, where Akagami decides to compliment each girl, seeing that they're wearing yukatas. When he gets to Yuzuki, he gets flustered, accidentally asking for something else. Kagura has a flashback, showing Miya's mother demanding that Miya have sex with as many men as possible, wanting to see results every 3 days, or she's going to be forced to return home. Kagura has been working and faking photographs for Miya, but Akagami's creating a problem because Miya's actually falling in love with him. With love being taboo in the Kristoff household, Akagami rejects Kagura's money, preferring to help out Yuzuki himself. Kagura is infuriated by this, not seeing how he could possibly fix this without her money, but she also feels that he's insensitive, seeing that Miya's actually in love with him, but she knows that Akagami loves Yuzuki, and if Miya's heart gets broken here, she may never move on to see anyone else. So she yells at Akagami, but realizes that she actually does care about Miya. With Akagami pointing this out, she recovers by kicking Akagami in the balls. but then soon feels guilty, seeing that she could easily help out the shrine, and she wouldn't need to lie to her friends. Following the kick to the groin, Akagami develops a Kagura phobia, so Mia decides to make them friends again by logging them into a shed for 24 hours. Kagura determines that Akagami is too nice to ruin a friendship with Mia by revealing her secrets. After escaping from the shed by kicking the door down, she decides to focus on having Akagami sleep with Mia. Solving all of her current problems, Tsuyo has a very steamy dream about Akagami, but Kagura deters her by showing her a video of Mia and Akagami, convincing her that they're dating. Mia cluelessly confirms this, saying that she's attracted to Akagami, making him her ideal training partner for resisting lewdness, leaving Tsuyo jealous and angry, being directed towards Akagami. Kurage ends up revealing the video was actually about Mia and Akagami playing Twister. The temple runs out of rice, and are forced to ask for some tributes from the people living nearby the temple, but no one donates to them, except for one woman who is happily donating to them enough rice to last them for weeks. Yuzuki used to remember how her mother used to get tributes, with everyone in the community coming together and rallying behind her, but after she left the temple, that practice was neglected. Akagami is curious why her mother chose to leave. Kiki decides to repair the idol, though it's gonna cost her 500,000 yen. Akagami begins by looking for a part-time job. As he no longer owns a phone for the employers to contact him, he must borrow a phone, asking Yuzuki, but he almost faints seeing her in a maid costume. Yuzuki plans to work several jobs, including a maid cafe, so that Akagami won't have to work. Akagami is against this idea, saying she cannot possibly train while having multiple jobs while also going to school, saying that she's going to exhaust herself. So she challenges him. If he wants her phone, he must find a way to force her to go to sleep, starting with a relaxing massage though. While resisting his lust, Akagami turns out to be a very excellent masseuse. Tsuyo overhears them and barges into her room. Yuzuki still refuses to surrender, and Akagami gets angry at her, asking Tsuyo out on a date. That night, Tsuyo has a dream about marrying Akagami, but is then disappointed by their date, with it just being an excuse for him to buy a new phone, with him planning the user to get a cheaper phone, using the husband/wife payment plan. Tired of their constant misunderstandings between each other, Tsuyo is about to confess to him, but simply settles for asking for his new phone number. She misunderstands again when he reveals that he got the phone for a secret reason, leading to another dream of Akagami and her playing Twister. Yuzuki is about to consider apologizing to Akagami, but runs away from this, and him. Yuzuki catches Tsuyo coming back with Akagami's new phone. Akagami also considers apologizing. Kiki advises him not to forget what is important to him. A family of worshippers move their family grave to another temple, and Kiki despairs when Yuzuki does it without charging a fee. Kiki abruptly ends their training, doing so without any explanation. Without the training, and with Akagami doing most of the chores, Yuzuki has nothing else to do. They're starting to despair, since she can't find a job either. Yuzuki later goes missing, doing so during a thunderstorm, with Akagami running after her. Yuzuki is dizzy, where they're also having a fever. She starts to remember her mother, and how she would successfully be running the temple, doing so all by herself, with her feeling like a failure. Akagami finds her under a bridge, and carries her back home. After she recovers, Akagami asks for her to stop doing everything by herself, and to simply ask for some help. Everyone is eavesdropping, but they all agree. They love the temple, and they want to try running it together, as a family. Having learned not to be worried about what other people think about her, Kiki declares that Yuzuki has moved closer to Enlightenment, and will be resuming her training after she's improved from her fever. Yuzuki quits her job searching, and decides to repair the idol by requesting donations from the worshippers.